You didn't choose to watch this, your unconscious did. A quiet knowing, a subterranean pull tugged at your attention. It recognized a language whispered in the dark, a resonance speaking of a fractured self, a story too long untold. This is not about accidental discovery. It's about the inevitable confrontation with what has been buried, what has been exiled from the light of ordinary awareness. A timeless myth stirs within this moment. The myth of the Hollow King, seated on a throne of his own making, ruling over a kingdom of dust. And with him, the forgotten child, a ghost in the halls of the self, a perpetual absence in the heart of the present. They are not mere characters in a story. They are symbols, archetypes that lie dormant within the architecture of your own psyche. Early traumas, like cruel sculptors, have chipped away at the raw marble of your identity. What remains are polished masks, carefully crafted facades designed to navigate a world that demands conformity over authenticity. Coping is often just a sophisticated form of denial, a way of pretending the rot within hasn't set in. Nietzsche warned of passive nihilism, the slow surrender to meaninglessness masked as acceptance. This video is a rigorous dismantling of that illusion. It's an invitation, or perhaps a command, to descend into a radical internal silence. A confrontation awaits beneath the noise of adaptation, beneath the endless performative gestures that keep the true self at bay. There is no comfort offered here, only the stark, liberating clarity of painful awareness. You are faced with a stark choice: kill the role you've been playing or allow the role to kill you. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos just like this. Now let's keep going. The world insists on a persona, a carefully curated image projected outward to satisfy unseen judges. It's a constant performance, a stage play where the actor forgets they are not the character. This subtle act of self-betrayal begins early, a quiet surrender to the demands of external approval. Beneath the surface of this performed composure lies an uninvited witness. It is the part of you that sees the performance for what it is, the part that recognizes the hollow echo in your own laughter. This is not a frantic storyteller, but a quiet observer of an ancient drama playing out within the soul. It registers the dissonance, the subtle tremor of unacknowledged pain that accompanies every forced smile. Jung spoke of the shadow, that hidden aspect of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge. This uninvited witness is its sentinel, the silent record keeper of our inner compromises, the ghost in the machine of our daily lives. It hovers at the periphery of our consciousness, a disquieting presence that reminds us of the life unlived, the authenticity sacrificed. It sees the borrowed smiles, the mimicked joys, the manufactured enthusiasm. It is the silent accumulator of truths too uncomfortable to voice, a constant hum of dissent against the prevailing melody of superficiality. This witness is the first crack in the facade, the initial whisper in the void. The outward smile you offer to the world is a performance, but what does the uninvited witness within see when the curtain falls? This quiet observer marks the territory for the next revelation of the Hollow King's domain. The Hollow King presides over a forgotten realm within. His throne is not of gold, but of weathered stone, a monument to a power that has long since atrophied. He is the embodiment of abdicated responsibility, the ruler who has lost touch with his own kingdom, his own heart. His rule is marked by a profound emptiness, a pervasive sense of inertia that infects his domain. The air is thick with the dust of unfulfilled potential, the silent testament to dreams left to wither. He represents that aspect of ourselves that has become inert, that has surrendered agency to external forces or internal inertia. The throne is a symbol of his passive sovereignty, a position of power that demands nothing and offers even less. The subjects of his kingdom are the fragmented pieces of a once whole self, now scattered and disoriented, waiting for a decree that never comes. He is the archetype of leadership that has lost its vital connection to the source of its own vitality. When we allow this hollow aspect to take root, we find ourselves occupying a position of power without purpose, presence without influence. Our decisions become rote, our actions devoid of genuine conviction. The Hollow King sits, not ruling, but reigning in absence. His existence is a testament to a fundamental disconnect, a profound spiritual fatigue that has settled over the inner landscape. His inert presence casts a long shadow, a chilling reminder of the self that has retreated from genuine engagement. This hollow sovereignty leaves a void, a craving for a different kind of power. From this throne of emptiness, we must confront the silent occupant of our deepest fears. In the echoing halls of the Hollow King's forgotten kingdom resides the forgotten child. This is not a simple memory, but a living presence, a spectral echo of vulnerability and unmet needs that continues to shape the present. The child embodies the raw wounds of early experience, the primal fears and hurts that were too overwhelming to process, too terrifying to integrate. They were tucked away, a secret burden carried in the invisible luggage of the soul. This child is unloved in the very core of their being, not because they are unlovable, but because the caretakers of their early world were themselves unable to provide the necessary solace and recognition. Their cries went unheard, their tears dried on the pillow of neglect. Their presence is a constant ache, a subliminal reminder of the fundamental need for connection and security that remains unmet. They are the source of the yearning for validation, the deep, often unconscious, desire to finally be seen, to finally be held. When this forgotten child stirs, it ignites a desperate search for external sources of comfort, for relationships that can, unknowingly, act as surrogate parents. It fuels the drive for approval, the desperate need to earn a love that feels perpetually out of reach. This archetypal orphan remains perpetually on the outside, looking in at families, at communities, at moments of genuine belonging, feeling like an intruder, an outsider forever. Their silent plea for recognition is the root of much inner suffering. The forgotten child, lost within the ruins of identity, yearns for recognition, a longing that fuels the next stage of our excavation. What happens when this lost potential solidifies into a defensive structure? The false self, that meticulously constructed edifice of adaptation, stands as a monument to survival. It is the hard-won fortress built to shield the tender woundedness of the forgotten child from further harm. This monument is not a sign of strength, but a testament to the severity of the perceived threat. Every stone in its construction represents a compromise, a denial of a core truth, an exile of a vital feeling. It is composed of the roles we adopt, the opinions we echo, the behaviors we mimic to gain acceptance and avoid rejection. This false self is a master of disguise, adept at mirroring the expectations of others. Without its protective walls, the fragile inner truth would be exposed to the harsh winds of criticism and abandonment. The fear of annihilation is so profound that the creation of this elaborate substitute identity becomes a matter of life and death. Nietzsche observed, "There are no facts, only interpretations." The false self is the grand interpreter of reality, shaping perception through the lens of perceived necessity for survival. It dictates what is safe to feel, what is acceptable to express, and what truths must remain buried. It is a monument to what we believe we must be to remain whole, or at least to remain visible. The irony is that in building this monument, we immure the very self we sought to protect. This constructed identity becomes a prison, albeit a gilded one, where authenticity struggles to breathe beneath the weight of its own artificiality. Its solidity belies its inner emptiness, a hollow core masquerading as substance. This monument of adaptation, however imposing, is a fragile shell destined to crumble. The next step reveals the myriad ways this manufactured persona is expressed. The world demands a performance, and we oblige by donning our masks of adaptation. These are not simple disguises, but intricate extensions of the false self, carefully crafted to navigate the social landscape and secure our place within it. Each mask represents a strategy for survival, a learned response to the vulnerabilities experienced in our formative years. They are the smooth surfaces we present to the world, hiding the rough, untamed terrain beneath. The desire for belonging, the terror of abandonment, the need for approval, these primal drives fuel the creation and perpetuation of these facades. We learn which masks elicit praise and which invite scorn, and we adjust our outward presentation accordingly. One might wear the mask of the perpetual optimist, never acknowledging the shadows that cling to their heels. Another might don the mask of the stoic, suppressing all emotion to project an image of unwavering strength. These masks become so ingrained that they begin to feel like our true faces. We forget the original self that wore them, becoming indistinguishable from the roles we play. The line between actor and character blurs into non-existence. This constant state of performance is exhausting. It requires an immense amount of psychic energy to maintain the illusion, to keep the true self hidden, to ensure the masks never slip. It is a life lived in perpetual vigilance. The masks are essential for navigating the external world, but they erect impenetrable barriers between ourselves and others, and most critically, between ourselves and our own deepest truths. These carefully cultivated appearances ward off intimacy and vulnerability, keeping the core self safe, but also utterly alone. The world sees the mask, but the one behind it remains unseen. These borrowed identities are essential, but they isolate us profoundly. The next phase considers the inner paralysis these masks induce. Beneath the surface of our carefully constructed masks lies a chilling stillness, the veil of emotional paralysis. This is not a chosen state of calm, but a profound numbness, a psychic freeze born of overwhelming past experiences. When emotions become too dangerous, too threatening to acknowledge, the psyche erects a protective barrier, a dam against the flood of feeling. This dam, however, eventually impedes the flow of all emotion, not just the perceived dangerous ones. The individual then finds themselves unable to access joy as readily as sadness, or enthusiasm as easily as anger. Life becomes a muted experience, drained of its vibrant hues. This is the unintended consequence of self-preservation. This paralysis is often mistaken for composure or maturity. It's seen as a sign that one has handled their issues, that they have transcended the messiness of raw human emotion. But it is the opposite. It is a deep psychic wound, a testament to the inability to process pain and loss in the past. The emotional body becomes a frozen landscape, a tundra where life struggles to take root. This creates a profound disconnect from oneself and from others. Intimacy becomes incredibly difficult, as expressing genuine feeling requires vulnerability, a state that has been systematically shut down. The veil effectively shields from pain, but it also blocks the possibility of deep connection, of authentic love, of true aliveness. The price of emotional safety is emotional emptiness. This emotional shutdown is a critical adaptation, but it creates an internal void. The next step explores the very structure of that void. The architecture of absence is built from the discarded fragments of ourselves. It is the unseen scaffolding that supports the false self, a framework constructed not of presence, but of what has been repressed, denied, and exiled. Think of a house built around a void. The walls stand firm, the roof is intact, but at its heart is an empty space where a vital room should be. This is the internal architecture of absence. This absence is the palpable emptiness left by unmet needs, by stifled emotions, by unexpressed desires. It is the silent scream of the forgotten child, the echo of the hollow king's reign. We fill this void not with substance, but with busyness, with distraction, with the ceaseless construction of our external lives. The architecture of absence is made of these diversions, these efforts to avoid confronting the gaping hole within. This internal architecture dictates our patterns of behavior. We seek external affirmation to fill the void. We chase fleeting pleasures. We immerse ourselves in work or relationships that momentarily distract from the emptiness. It is the gravitational pull of what is missing that shapes our orbits, determining the choices we make and the paths we are compelled to follow. The absence becomes the primary organizing principle of our lives. This is the invisible blueprint of our inner world, a design that dictates our limitations and our perceived capabilities. It's the inherent flaw in the structure of our being. The voids we carry dictate our deepest hungers and our most profound fears, shaping our reality from the inside out. This architecture of absence is a constant, silent force. What happens when we recognize the quiet warning it presents? Nietzsche's warning echoes in the growing silence that envelops the spirit. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. But what happens when the why has been systematically eroded, replaced by a passive acceptance of the status quo? This passive nihilism, as he termed it, is not born of overt despair, but of a slow, insidious surrender to meaninglessness. It is the quiet fading of conviction, the dimming of inner light. In the architecture of absence, this silence is not a space for reflection, but a void where meaning should reside. It's a quietude that suffocates rather than liberates. The inability to connect with a deeper purpose, a personal why, leaves one adrift. Life becomes a series of events to be endured, rather than a journey to be lived with intentionality. This silence isn't peaceful. It's the sound of something vital dying within. It's the quiet horror of a life lived without an anchor, without a compass. We become susceptible to the influence of external forces, adopting the values and beliefs of the prevailing culture without critical examination. The absence of an internal why makes us easily swayed. The hollow king on his throne presides over a silent kingdom, and the forgotten child weeps unheard within its walls. This is the fertile ground for Nietzsche's warning to take root, a quiet decay of the soul. This passive acceptance of meaninglessness is a dangerous state, leaving us vulnerable to external manipulation and internal stagnation. The silence it breeds is a prelude to the next confrontation. The mirror, that ancient symbol of self-reflection, offers no comfort here. It is a surface without mercy, reflecting back not the polished facade we present to the world, but the raw, unvarnished truth of our internal state. When we gaze into this mirror, we are confronted with the stark reality of our adaptations, the evidence of our buried selves. There is no room for pretension, no escape from the unflinching gaze of inner recognition. This mirror shows the forgotten child, still weeping in the corners. It reveals the hollow king on his vacant throne, his presence a chilling testament to abdication. It lays bare the scaffolding of absence that supports our lives. There is a cruel beauty in this unsparing reflection. It is the honesty that precedes genuine transformation. It forces us to confront what we have been avoiding, what we have been pretending not to see. This mirror does not offer soothing reassurances or flattering illusions. It is a stark, objective witness to our inner landscape, demanding acknowledgement of the pain, the fear, and the unlived potential. To look fully into this mirror is an act of profound courage. It requires the willingness to see ourselves as we truly are, stripped of all the comfortable lies and self-deceptions that have kept us sane, or at least functional. It is in this unflinching confrontation that the seeds of change are sown. The pain revealed is the pain that needs to be healed, the absence that needs to be filled, not with more construction, but with genuine being. This encounter with the unmerciful mirror is essential. It is the gateway to understanding the true cost of our adaptations. What happens to the soul that lives perpetually in its own reflection? The adapted self, a masterpiece of survival, often finds itself inhabiting graveyards, not of the departed, but of the living. These are the graveyards of dead potential, of stifled desires, of unexpressed selves. We build these mausoleums within our own psyches, carefully interring aspects of ourselves that were deemed too inconvenient, too difficult, or too dangerous to acknowledge. The false self becomes the groundskeeper of these silent resting places. Each unfulfilled dream, Each unspoken word, each suppressed emotion becomes another tombstone in this inner necropolis. The graveyard is meticulously maintained, a testament to the power of repression. The Hollow King reigns supreme here, his kingdom quiet and still, a reflection of the lifelessness cultivated within. The forgotten child wanders amongst the tombs, a spectral presence in a landscape of burial. The energy that should have been directed towards growth and creation is instead spent on maintaining these silent monuments to what was abandoned. It is a form of living death, a pervasive sense of stagnation. In these graveyards, there is a deep, unspoken sorrow, a lament for the richness of life that has been willingly sacrificed. The air is thick with the scent of what might have been. To acknowledge these graveyards is to begin the arduous task of exhumation. It means confronting the ghosts of our own making and understanding the cost of our adaptations. This is the silent cost of survival. This internal necropolis marks the destination of our journey thus far. But what happens when the soul itself begins to feel the weight of this abandonment? The descent of the orphaned psyche is a journey into the profound sense of rootlessness, the feeling of being fundamentally alone in the universe. It's the echo of the forgotten child's cry resonating through every aspect of existence. When our core needs remain unmet, when our authentic selves are consistently suppressed, we become orphans of our own being. We lack the inner security, the foundational sense of belonging that allows the soul to flourish. This orphaned state fuels a desperate search for external sources of validation and belonging. We latch onto anything that promises a sense of home, a fleeting sense of connection, however superficial. The architecture of absence becomes the orphaned psyche's dwelling, its rooms filled not with warmth and security, but with the echoes of longing and the chill of isolation. The Hollow King's silent dominion offers no solace. This descent is not always a dramatic fall, but often a subtle erosion of spirit, a gradual dimming of the inner light. It's a growing awareness of being disconnected, adrift without an anchor. The individual may find themselves constantly seeking external permission to exist, to feel, to be. Their sense of self-worth is entirely dependent on the opinions and affirmations of others. This orphaned state leaves one deeply vulnerable to manipulation, as the desperate need for connection can override critical judgment and self-preservation. It's a soul yearning for a parent it never had. The feeling of being unloved, of being fundamentally flawed, becomes the bedrock of identity. It's a profound spiritual poverty, but what lies beyond this desolation? We stand now at a threshold, a liminal space between the ossified structures of the past and the terrifying, yet exhilarating, possibility of becoming. This is the threshold of unbecoming. To cross this threshold requires a conscious letting go, a dismantling of the carefully constructed identity that has served as both shield and prison. It is the act of surrendering the false self and the masks it wears. It is here that the graveyards of the adapted self are acknowledged, not as final resting places, but as the compost from which new life can emerge. The orphaned psyche glimpses a possibility beyond its own desolation. This moment is pregnant with both dread and liberation. Dread, because the known world, however painful, offered a semblance of order. Liberation, because the possibility of authentic existence beckons. It is a spiritual crucible, where the old self is burned away, leaving behind an unformed, raw material. The mirror without mercy will be needed to guide this deconstruction. The Hollow King's throne crumbles, and the forgotten child's tears begin to dry as a new awareness dawns. This is not an end, but a profound beginning. This is a place of transition, an essential space for transformation. It is the point from which genuine renewal can spring. But how does one navigate this space of radical uncertainty? Dissociation, that profound disconnect between mind and body, experience and awareness, is often disguised as enlightenment or spiritual transcendence. It is a subtler form of psychic escape, a flight from the present moment. When life becomes too much to bear, particularly in childhood, the psyche can fragment, the conscious mind retreating from overwhelming reality. This is not a deliberate act, but a survival mechanism. However, in adulthood, this fragmented state can be misinterpreted. The emotional numbness, the sense of detachment, the feeling of observing oneself from a distance can be mistaken for spiritual elevation, for a transcendence of worldly concerns. This dissociation creates a void, an architecture of absence that masquerades as peace. It offers a form of escape without truly addressing the underlying pain. The Hollow King's silent reign offers a seductive detachment. This is not true liberation, but a sophisticated form of avoidance. It keeps the forgotten child locked away, their cries unheard, their needs unmet. The mirror without mercy would reveal this illusion. The goal is not to escape reality, but to be fully present within it, even its most difficult aspects. True spiritual growth involves integrating all parts of the self, not dissociating from them. This light is a false dawn, a deceptive luminescence that keeps us from engaging with the crucial work of healing and wholeness. It's a polished tombstone in the graveyard of the self. The allure of this disembodied state is strong, offering relief from pain. But what happens when the silence it cultivates is finally broken? The silence beneath the role is not the silence of peace, but the silence of suppression. It is the roaring absence of what has been forced into the depths of the unconscious, the clamor of unexpressed truths struggling for air. This silence is the foundation upon which the masks of adaptation are built. It is the bedrock of the false self, the quiet underpinning of every societal performance. The uninvited witness has long recorded this deafening quiet. When we are merely playing a role, our authentic voice is silenced, relegated to the subterranean realms of our being. The outward projection is smooth, but the inner landscape is a cacophony of repressed emotions and buried desires. This is where the forgotten child's cries are most potent, where the Hollow King's inertia is most profound. The silence is the space where their narratives are held captive, unheard by the waking self. The architecture of absence is built from the materials of this repressed silence. It is the sound of the soul struggling against its own confinement, a silent testament to its imprisonment. The mirror without mercy would reflect not the polished role, but the anguished face peering out from behind it, yearning for release. This silence is a scream held back. To break this silence is to begin the process of exhumation, to confront the ghosts and reclaim the lost pieces of ourselves. It is the necessary precursor to genuine emergence. This profound internal quiet, however, demands an ultimate action. The role that has fostered this silence must be confronted directly, for it is the ultimate barrier. The role must die. This is not a metaphorical suggestion, but a brutal imperative. The script has reached its climax, and the character must be relinquished for the authentic self to emerge. The masks of adaptation, the monuments to the false self, the architecture of absence all coalesce in the persistence of a role that has outlived its purpose, yet continues to dominate the inner landscape. This role, born of survival, has become a cage. The Hollow King has presided over its construction, and the forgotten child has been its most neglected inhabitant. The silence it enforces is deafening. To cling to the role is to condemn oneself to perpetual performance, to a life lived in imitation. It is to choose the comfort of the familiar, however suffocating, over the terrifying freedom of the unknown. The mirror without mercy shows the hollowness of the role, the emptiness behind its pronouncements. The graveyards of the adapted self are filled with the discarded husks of lives lived in service to a fictional persona. This is the ultimate confrontation, the point where the illusion must be shattered. Allowing the role to die is an act of courageous self-negation, a necessary death for rebirth. It is the painful process of shedding the protective layers that have become shackles, of dismantling the defenses that have ultimately imprisoned us. This is not about ending, but about becoming. The acceptance that the role must die is the final act of acknowledgement of our own suffering. It is the precursor to the possibility of a different kind of existence, one rooted in unfiltered reality. Now that concludes this video. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.